Noah Cross had built an empire before 30, luxury hotels, real estate holdings, wealth that could buy anything. But when his childhood friend Adrian Hartwell called to announce his engagement and asked Noah to be best man, Noah had accepted, not knowing that meeting the bride would destroy him. Because the moment Lila Monroe walked into that engagement party with Adrian's ring on her finger, Noah Cross became a beggar, and she didn't even know it. The penthouse suite at the Cross Hotel's flagship property sparkled with champagne and carefully curated elegance. Noah stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, surveying the engagement party he'd hosted because Adrian had asked, because they'd been friends since boarding school, because refusing would have raised questions he didn't care to answer. The party was everything Adrian wanted: ostentatious, expensive, filled with people who mattered in their social circles. Noah had arranged it with the efficiency he applied to everything: precise instructions to his event staff, the best champagne, the perfect lighting. He'd done it without thought, without emotion, the way he handled every business transaction, until she walked in. Lila Monroe entered on Adrian's arm, and Noah's world fractured. She was small, delicate-boned, wearing a simple black dress that made every other woman in the room look overdressed. Dark hair swept up to reveal the elegant curve of her neck. No excessive jewelry, except Adrian's massive engagement ring that looked gaudy on her slender finger. She moved with unconscious grace, and when she smiled, politely, reservedly, at guests who congratulated her, Noah felt his heart slam against his ribs like it was trying to escape. This was Adrian's fiancée, his friend's future wife. Untouchable. And Noah wanted her with a ferocity that shocked him. He'd never felt this before, this immediate, visceral pull toward another human being. Noah Cross didn't do relationships. He had arrangements, mutually beneficial transactions with women who understood that his time and attention had limits. He'd never been jealous, never been possessive, never lost control over something as irrational as desire, until now. Adrian was showing Lila off like a prized acquisition, his hand possessive on the small of her back, introducing her to business associates and society figures. Noah watched from across the room, his champagne glass gripped too tightly, and catalogued every detail with the obsessive focus of a man losing his mind. The way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when nervous. The precise angle of her smile, polite but not reaching her eyes, performed rather than felt. The slight tension in her shoulders that suggested she was uncomfortable with the attention. The way she looked at Adrian, not with love, Noah realized, but with something closer to resignation. Noah, Adrian's voice cut through the crowd. Come meet Lila. Can't have my best man not knowing my bride. Noah set down his champagne glass and crossed the room with the predatory grace that made competitors nervous in boardrooms. Up close, Lila was even more devastating. Dark eyes that held intelligence and something like sadness, skin that looked impossibly soft. He cut off his thoughts savagely. Lila, this is Noah Cross, Adrian said with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never had to work for anything. My oldest friend and the best man unlucky enough to have to organize my bachelor party. It's nice to meet you, Lila said, extending her hand. Her voice was soft, musical, and when her fingers touched Noah's palm, electricity shot up his arm. The handshake lasted exactly 3 seconds, professional, appropriate, but Noah felt the contact like a brand. Congratulations, Noah said, and his voice came out rougher than intended. Adrian's a lucky man. Something flickered in Lila's eyes, surprise maybe, or recognition of something in his tone. But she smiled politely and stepped back closer to Adrian. Noah owns half the luxury hotels in the country, Adrian announced proudly, like he was somehow responsible for Noah's success. Self-made billionaire by 28. Makes the rest of us look like slackers. That's impressive, Lila said, and there was genuine interest in her expression. Did you start in hospitality? Real estate first, Noah replied, trying not to notice how close Adrian was standing to her, how his hand had moved to her waist. Hotels came later. I like creating spaces that feel like luxury and home simultaneously. That's an interesting philosophy, Lila said. Most luxury spaces feel cold. designed to impress rather than comfort. Exactly, Noah said, and felt something click. She understood. The goal is to make people feel like they belong, Lila finished, like the space was made for them specifically. Their eyes met, and the air between them felt charged. Noah was acutely aware of Adrian's presence, of the ring on Lila's finger, of the absolute impossibility of what he was feeling. How did you two meet? Noah asked, forcing his attention to Adrian. Gallery opening, Adrian said. 6 months ago. Lila was there for work. She's an art restorer, works at the museum, and I was there networking. Saw her across the room and knew I had to talk to her. Adrian pulled Lila closer possessively, and Noah felt rage build in his chest, irrational, violent rage at seeing another man touch her. We've been inseparable since, Adrian continued. 3 months of dating and I knew she was the one. Proposed at her favorite restaurant last month. Noah noticed Lila's expression, the way her smile tightened slightly, the way she didn't quite meet anyone's eyes. This wasn't a woman glowing with happiness about her engagement. This was a woman going through motions, but she wore Adrian's ring. Had said yes. Had agreed to marry him, which meant she was completely, devastatingly off limits. The rest of the party passed in a blur. Noah played his role perfectly. The attentive host, the supportive best man, the friend who was happy for Adrian's engagement. He made toasts, he laughed at appropriate moments. He ensured everything ran smoothly, and he watched Lila. Watched the way she moved through the crowd with practiced grace. Watched her talk to Adrian's business associates with intelligent questions that they barely acknowledged. Watched Adrian interrupt her repeatedly, finish her sentences, speak for her when people asked her about her work. Watched the way she dimmed herself, made herself smaller, played the role of decorative fiancée rather than the intelligent woman Noah could see beneath the performance. By the time the party ended and guests began leaving, Noah felt like he'd been flayed alive. Every nerve was raw. Every breath hurt. The sight of Adrian's hand on Lila's back as he guided her toward the exit made Noah want to commit violence. Thanks for hosting, Adrian said, shaking Noah's hand at the door. This was perfect. Exactly what Lila wanted, right, darling? Lila smiled that polite, empty smile. It was lovely. Thank you, Mr. Cross. Noah, he corrected, and their eyes met again. Please, we're going to be seeing a lot of each other over the next few months. Something in her expression shifted. A flicker of awareness, of recognition, quickly suppressed. Noah, she repeated, and his name in her voice felt like a gift and a curse. Thank you for everything. They left, and Noah stood alone in his penthouse, staring at the space where she'd been, feeling something he'd never felt before. Absolute. Aching want for something he couldn't have. His phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Thanks again. Drinks next week to discuss bachelor party plans. Noah typed back a confirmation, then walked to the windows overlooking the city he'd conquered, the empire he'd built, the life he'd crafted exactly to his specifications, and realized that none of it mattered because the only thing he wanted was wearing another man's ring. He spent that night pacing his penthouse like a caged animal, unable to sleep, unable to think about anything except her, the way her hand had felt in his, the sound of her voice, the intelligence in her eyes that Adrian clearly didn't appreciate, the way she'd understood his philosophy about creating spaces that felt like home. By dawn, Noah had accepted an uncomfortable truth. He was in love with his friend's fiancée, and there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. The next 6 weeks were exquisite torture. Adrian roped Noah into wedding planning with the enthusiasm of someone who thought organizing a wedding was about displays of wealth rather than celebrating love. Every meeting, every planning session, every decision involved Lila, which meant Noah found himself in her presence constantly, while Adrian made pronouncements about what they would have. The Grandview estate for the venue, Adrian declared during a meeting at his office, not asking Lila's opinion. 500 guests minimum. Noah, you can handle the hotel accommodations, right? Book out your property downtown. Noah watched Lila's face carefully. She'd gone very still, her expression neutral, but he saw the slight tightening around her eyes. What do you think, Lila? Noah asked, and both Adrian and Lila looked at him in surprise. Lila started. She loves it, Adrian interrupted. Don't you, darling? It's very grand, Lila said carefully. Exactly, Adrian beamed. Only the best for my bride. Noah bit back the observation that the best might involve actually asking what she wanted. But it wasn't his place. He was the best man, the friend, the one who watched from the sidelines while Adrian made decisions that clearly didn't align with what Lila preferred. The meetings continued. Flowers. Adrian chose elaborate arrangements that Lila glanced at with barely concealed dismay. Menu? Adrian selected expensive dishes without asking if Lila had dietary preferences or favorite foods. Music, Adrian hired an orchestra that played classical pieces Lila clearly didn't connect with. Noah watched her disappear inch by inch under Adrian's vision of what his wedding should be, and he watched Adrian treat her like a beautiful accessory, interrupting when she tried to voice opinions, making jokes about her cute job at the museum, checking his phone while she spoke, canceling plans with her last minute for business meetings, then showing up 2 hours late to wedding appointments without apology. Noah cataloged every slight, every dismissal, every moment where Adrian proved he didn't deserve her, and felt rage build like a living thing in his chest. The worst moments were when Adrian touched her, a hand on her waist during meetings, his arm around her shoulders while looking at venue photos, casual displays of possession that made Noah's vision tunnel and his hands clench into fists under the table. The jealousy was irrational, consuming, unlike anything Noah had experienced. He'd built an empire through cold calculation and strategic thinking, but around Lila, he was reduced to something primitive. A man watching another man touch what his hindbrain had decided was his, and being unable to do anything about it. 6 weeks after the engagement party, Adrian dragged Noah and Lila to look at wedding cakes. The bakery was expensive, exclusive, known for elaborate creations that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Adrian immediately gravitated toward the most ostentatious options. 8 tiers, gold leaf, architectural nightmares of sugar and fondant. This one, Adrian announced, pointing to a monstrosity that looked like it belonged in a museum rather than being eaten. Perfect for the Grandview estate. Lila was standing on the other side of the room, looking at the simple cakes. 3 tiers, elegant buttercream, delicate sugar flowers. Her expression held longing. Noah crossed to her. Which one do you like? Lila startled, not having noticed his approach. The one Adrian chose is beautiful. That's not what I asked, Noah said quietly. Which one do you like? Lila looked at him for a long moment, and Noah saw her struggle between saying what was expected and saying what was true. This one, she finally admitted, gesturing to the simple 3-tier cake with buttercream roses. It's classic, timeless, the kind of cake that's about flavor and celebration rather than spectacle. It's perfect, Noah said. You should get it. Adrian wants— What do you want? Noah interrupted gently. Lila met his eyes, and something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, a moment of connection that made Noah's heart race. It doesn't matter what I want, Lila said softly. This is Adrian's wedding too. I can't just make all the decisions. But he is, Noah thought. He's making all the decisions and you're just letting it happen. Lila, Adrian called from across the room. Come look at this. The baker can do a replica of the Eiffel Tower in sugar. How incredible is that? Lila smiled politely and moved away from Noah, back to Adrian's side. And Noah watched her go, feeling like he'd just lost something precious. That evening, alone in his penthouse office, Noah poured himself whiskey and tried to work. His laptop screen glowed with acquisition proposals and development projects, but his mind was stuck on the image of Lila's face when she'd looked at that simple cake. The longing, the resignation, the gradual acceptance that this wedding wouldn't be about what she wanted. He should walk away, should distance himself, should stop attending these planning meetings and just show up on the wedding day to perform his duties as best man. But he couldn't. The thought of not seeing her, of not being there when Adrian inevitably dismissed her opinions or hurt her feelings, felt impossible. He was addicted to her presence even though every moment in it was agony. His phone rang. Adrian. Noah, I need a favor. Can Lila stay at your hotel this weekend? My parents are visiting, and Mom wants to redecorate Lila's room before the wedding. Something about feng shui. Lila needs to be out of the apartment. Noah's heart stuttered. She could stay at her own place. She gave that up when we got engaged. Saving money for the wedding. Come on, you've got 100 empty rooms. Just give her a suite for 3 nights. Every rational part of Noah's brain screamed that this was a terrible idea, that having Lila in his hotel, in his space, would be torture. Fine, he heard himself say. I'll arrange it. Perfect. I'll drop her off tomorrow evening. Adrian hung up, and Noah sat staring at his phone, already dreading and anticipating the weekend ahead. Having Lila in his hotel, in his territory, staying in rooms he'd designed, breathing air he controlled, felt like temptation designed to break him. But he couldn't refuse. Couldn't miss the chance to see her, talk to her, exist in her orbit, for just a little while longer, even if it destroyed him. Even if she never knew what it cost him to play the supportive friend. While his heart was slowly being shredded, Noah pulled up his hotel's reservation system and personally selected the suite for Lila, the corner unit on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the best views, the most beautiful space he'd created. If she had to stay here, if he had to watch her walk through his hotel knowing she belonged to someone else, at least he could give her beauty, could surround her with spaces designed for comfort and elegance, could pretend, just for 3 days, that she was his. Lila arrived at the Cross Hotel on Friday evening, and Noah was waiting in the lobby even though he'd told himself he wouldn't be. She walked through the entrance with a small suitcase, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, looking exhausted and beautiful, and completely out of place among the designer-clad guests flowing through his lobby. Their eyes met across the marble expanse, and Noah felt his breath catch. He crossed to her with long strides, his staff parting automatically because they recognized the look on their boss's face. Focused, intense, allowing no interference. Lila, he said, loving the sound of her name on his lips. Welcome. Thank you for this, Lila said, looking uncomfortable. I know it's an imposition. Adrian said it would just be for the weekend. Stay as long as you need, Noah replied. I've prepared the corner suite on the top floor. Best views in the building. He gestured to the elevator, and Lila preceded him into it. The doors closed, sealing them in the small space, and Noah was acutely aware of her proximity. 6 inches of air separated them. He could smell her perfume. Something subtle, floral, driving him insane. Could see the pulse beating in her throat. Could reach out and... He locked his hands behind his back. How's the wedding planning going? He asked, needing to fill the silence before he did something catastrophic. Lila's expression shuddered. Fine, good. Adrian's very excited about everything. And you? She looked at him sharply, those intelligent eyes searching his face. What do you mean? Are you excited? Noah pressed, knowing he shouldn't, unable to stop himself. About the wedding, about marrying Adrian. The elevator was still climbing, passing floor after floor, and Lila stared at the numbers ticking by without answering. It's what we planned, she finally said, which wasn't an answer at all. The elevator doors opened on the top floor, Noah's private level, where he kept his penthouse and the handful of suites he reserved for people who mattered, and he led Lila down the corridor to the corner unit. He unlocked the door and gestured her inside. The suite was beautiful, Noah had ensured that. Oversized windows, modern furniture in warm tones, a bedroom with a king bed and luxury linens, a bathroom with a soaking tub, art on the walls that he'd selected personally, pieces that felt calming and elegant. Lila stepped inside and gasped. Noah, this is too much. I don't need... You need it, Noah interrupted. You've been running yourself ragged with wedding planning and work. Take the weekend. Rest. Enjoy the space. He should leave. Should drop her suitcase and walk away before he said something unforgivable. Instead, he heard himself asking, Have you eaten? Lila shook her head. Adrian dropped me off on his way to a business dinner. I was just going to order room service. Have dinner with me, Noah said, and the words came out more command than invitation. The hotel restaurant. You shouldn't eat alone. Lila hesitated, and Noah saw her weighing options. Propriety versus loneliness. What was appropriate versus what she wanted. Okay, she said finally. Give me 20 minutes to change. Noah nodded and left before he could do something stupid like tell her she looked perfect exactly as she was. 20 minutes later, they met in the hotel's main restaurant, an elegant space with dim lighting and discreetly spaced tables. Noah had reserved his usual corner booth, the one where he conducted business dinners, where he could see the entire room and no one could approach without him noticing. Lila had changed into a simple dress. Nothing fancy, just dark blue fabric that made her eyes look enormous. And Noah felt his mouth go dry. This is beautiful, Lila said, sliding into the booth across from him. Do you eat here often? Every day, Noah admitted. I live in the penthouse upstairs. It's easier than maintaining a separate residence. So you live in your hotel? I built it to feel like home, Noah said. Remember? Spaces that are luxury and comfort simultaneously. Lila smiled. A real smile. Not the polite one she gave Adrian. And Noah felt like he'd won something precious. They ordered. Noah guided her toward the chef's specialties, watched her face light up when she tasted the first course, cataloged every small pleasure that crossed her expression like he was memorizing sacred text. Tell me about your work, Noah said, genuinely wanting to know. Adrian mentioned you restore art? I do, Lila said, and something in her posture relaxed. Right now I'm working on a 15th century fresco that's been behind a false wall for 200 years. Adrian doesn't understand why I love it, Lila said, then stopped, looking guilty. Sorry, I shouldn't. Why doesn't he? Noah asked. Lila was quiet for a moment. He thinks it's a hobby, something I do until we have children. Then I'll stop and focus on family. He doesn't understand that it's who you are, Noah finished. Not what you do. Who you are. Lila's eyes met his, wide and startled. Yes, exactly. They stared at each other across the table, and Noah felt the air between them charged with something dangerous and inevitable. Does Adrian know? Noah asked quietly. That you're not going to give it up? I've tried to tell him, Lila said, her voice small. But he doesn't listen. He just pats my hand and says we'll figure it out after the wedding. That I'll understand priorities better once we're married. Rage built in Noah's chest. Hot, violent rage at Adrian's dismissiveness, at his assumption that Lila would simply mold herself to his expectations. You shouldn't have to give up who you are, Noah said, and his voice came out rougher than intended. Not for anyone. Not even for marriage. That's what marriage is, though, isn't it? Lila said, and she sounded tired. Compromise, sacrifice. Compromise, yes, Noah agreed. But not erasure. Marriage should make you more yourself, not less. Lila was looking at him with an expression he couldn't read. Something between longing and fear, hope and resignation. Do you believe that? She asked. Or is that just theory? I believe it, Noah said firmly. I've watched my parents' marriage. My mother never diminished herself for my father. They built something where both could be whole people together. That sounds nice, Lila whispered. I'm not sure that's what I'm getting. The admission hung between them, heavy with implication. Noah wanted to reach across the table, take her hand, tell her she didn't have to marry Adrian. That she could walk away, that she deserved someone who celebrated her work instead of dismissing it, who listened instead of interrupting, who treated her like a partner instead of a possession, that she deserved someone like... He cut off the thought savagely. He couldn't offer her anything, couldn't interfere in her engagement, couldn't act on feelings that were wildly inappropriate given his role as Adrian's best man. All he could do was sit across from her, watch her pick at her dessert, and die by inches knowing she was walking toward a future that would slowly destroy everything that made her extraordinary. After dinner, Noah walked Lila back to her suite. They stood outside her door, and the silence between them felt loaded with things neither could say. Thank you, Lila said softly. For dinner. For listening. Adrian doesn't... She stopped herself. Thank you. Lila, Noah said, and her name felt like something being torn from his chest. If you ever need anything at all, I'm here. She looked up at him, and Noah saw tears glinting in her eyes. I know, she whispered. I don't know why, but I know. She disappeared into her suite, and Noah stood in the hallway for a full minute before forcing himself to walk away. That night, he lay in his penthouse directly above her suite, staring at the ceiling, knowing she was sleeping one floor below in a bed he'd chosen, in a room he'd designed, in his territory but completely out of reach. He'd never wanted anything as much as he wanted Lila Monroe, and he'd never been so utterly, devastatingly unable to have what he wanted. The cruel joke was that she was staying in his hotel, in his space, and he still couldn't have her. She was so close, just one floor away, and might as well have been on another planet. Because she wore Adrian's ring. Because she'd said yes. Because she was promised to someone else. And Noah Cross, who bent cities to his will and commanded empires, was completely powerless to change it. Lila stayed at the hotel for 3 days that felt like 3 years. Noah told himself he'd keep his distance, that he'd let her enjoy the suite in peace, that he wouldn't invent reasons to see her. He lasted 6 hours. Saturday morning, he found himself knocking on her suite door with coffee and pastries from the hotel's bakery, telling himself this was just hospitality, just ensuring his guest was comfortable. Leela opened the door in pajamas, her hair sleep-tousled, looking soft and vulnerable and so beautiful Noah forgot how to breathe. Noah? She blinked sleep from her eyes. What time is it? 8, Noah said, holding up the coffee. Too early? No, I should be up, Lila said, stepping back to let him in. I was just... She gestured vaguely at the papers spread across the coffee table. Looking at wedding invitations. Noah set down the coffee and looked at the samples. All were formal, traditional, expensive. None felt like Lila. These are what Adrian wants, Noah observed. How did you... Lila stopped, gave him a wry smile. Is it that obvious? To me, Noah said, which was more honest than he should have been. They sat on the couch, maintaining careful distance, not touching, but close enough that Noah could smell her shampoo, and it was driving him insane. What would you choose? Noah asked, gesturing at the invitations. If it was just your decision. Lila was quiet for a moment, then pulled out her phone and showed him a photo she'd saved. A simple invitation, cream cardstock, elegant script, nothing ostentatious. Classic and beautiful. This, she said. But Adrian says it's too simple, that people need to know they're invited to an important event. People need to know they're invited to celebrate love, Noah corrected, not attend a social display. Lila looked at him with those dark eyes, and Noah saw something shift in her expression. Awareness, recognition, the same pull he was feeling reflected back at him. He needed to leave, needed to get out of her suite before he did something catastrophic like tell her the truth, that he'd been in love with her since the moment she walked into his hotel, that watching her plan a wedding to Adrian was destroying him, that she deserved so much better than what she was settling for. I should go, Noah said roughly, standing. Let you work. Noah, Lila said, and something in her voice stopped him. Why are you being so kind to me? Because I love you. Because you're the only thing I've ever wanted that I can't have. Because watching you disappear under Adrian's expectations is killing me, and I don't know how to stop it. Because you deserve kindness, Noah said instead, and you're not getting enough of it. He left before she could respond, before he could see her reaction, before he could do something unforgivable like tell her that Adrian didn't deserve her and he did. The rest of the weekend followed a similar pattern. Noah kept inventing reasons to check on Lila. Saturday afternoon, he sent up lunch because he happened to notice she hadn't left her suite. Saturday evening, he invited her to use the hotel spa because he had complimentary services available. Sunday morning, he appeared with breakfast and newspapers because all guests deserve good service. Lila accepted each gesture with a mixture of gratitude and wariness, like she knew something was happening but couldn't quite identify what, and Noah was dying by inches. Every conversation revealed more of who she was. Everything he'd suspected from watching her at wedding planning meetings was confirmed. She was extraordinary, and Adrian had no idea what he had. Sunday evening, Adrian showed up to collect her. Noah was in the lobby when they left, pretending to review something with his general manager, actually watching Lila leave with Adrian's hand possessively on her back. Adrian didn't ask how her weekend was. Didn't thank Noah for the accommodation, just swept her out of the hotel like she was luggage he'd temporarily stored. Noah watched them go and felt something break in his chest. That night, alone in his penthouse, he poured himself whiskey and admitted a hard truth. He was in too deep. These weren't just feelings he could suppress or ignore. This was full-blown, destructive obsession. He was in love with Lila Monroe, and in 3 months, he would stand beside Adrian at the altar and watch her marry the wrong man. The thought made him want to put his fist through a window. His phone rang. Adrian. "Thanks again for putting Lila up," Adrian said cheerfully. "She said the suite was incredible. You really know how to make spaces luxurious." "It's what I do," Noah replied, his voice flat. "So about the bachelor party, I'm thinking Vegas. Big weekend. Invite all the guys. Go all out." Noah listened to Adrian plan debauchery with his groomsmen, planned to celebrate his upcoming marriage by doing everything that undermined the concept of commitment, and felt contempt build like bile in his throat. "Actually," Noah interrupted, "I think we should do something different. Maybe a weekend at my mountain lodge. Quieter. More about celebration than excess." "That sounds boring as hell," Adrian laughed. "Come on, Noah, live a little. When else am I going to have an excuse to really party?" "You're getting married," Noah said. "Isn't that enough of a party?" "Exactly. Last chance for freedom. Last chance to really cut loose before I'm tied down." Tied down. Like marriage to Lila was imprisonment instead of privilege. Noah closed his eyes and tried to control the rage. "Sure, Vegas it is." He ended the call and threw his phone across the room, watched it shatter against the wall with satisfaction that lasted exactly 2 seconds before the reality settled back in. He was in love with his friend's fiancée. She was going to marry that friend in 3 months, and there wasn't a damn thing Noah could do to stop it, because Lila had said yes, was still wearing Adrian's ring, was still going through with the wedding despite her obvious doubts, which meant whatever she felt, whatever connection, Noah sensed between them, wasn't enough to make her walk away, and Noah would have to live with that, would have to stand at that altar, hand over the rings, give the toast, and watch the woman he loved bind herself to, someone who didn't deserve her, would have to pretend. He was happy while his heart was being ripped out of his chest. Would have to smile while dying inside. Because that's what best men did. They supported the groom. They facilitated the wedding. They buried their own feelings and performed their role. Even when it destroyed them. Even when every fiber of their being screamed that this was wrong. Even when they were desperately, hopelessly in love with the bride. Vegas was a nightmare dressed in neon and expensive alcohol. Noah had arranged everything because Adrian expected perfection. Penthouse suite at the most exclusive hotel, VIP access to clubs, private tables, bottle service, the works, money thrown at entertainment to celebrate Adrian's last weekend of freedom. The irony of celebrating freedom by getting married to someone like Lila, someone extraordinary who deserved worship. Not this. Wasn't lost on Noah. The groomsmen were a collection of Adrian's business school friends and work associates. Men who measured success in deals closed and women conquered. Men who treated the bachelor party like a competition for excess. Noah stood at the edge of the chaos, nursing whiskey, watching Adrian get progressively drunk and obnoxious. Watching him flirt with cocktail waitresses while wearing Lila's engagement ring. Watching him make jokes about the old ball and chain and last night of freedom. Every word made Noah want to put his fist through Adrian's face. "You okay, man? One of the groomsmen, Marcus maybe?" appeared beside Noah. "You seem tense." "Fine," Noah said flatly. "You sure?" "Because you look like you want to murder someone." Perceptive, Noah thought. "Just not a fan of Vegas," Noah replied, which was true, but not the real reason he felt like his skin was too tight. The real reason was 60 miles away in a museum, working late on a restoration project because Adrian had told her the bachelor party was none of her business and she should find something to do for the weekend. Noah had texted her a brief message asking if she was okay, if she needed anything. She'd responded, "I'm fine, working, enjoy the party," which meant she was alone while her fiancé celebrated their upcoming marriage by acting like he was still single. "Adrian," one of the groomsmen yelled. "Dare time. I dare you to get that waitress's number." Adrian laughed, already reaching for his phone, and Noah felt something inside him snap. "No," Noah said, his voice cutting through the club noise. Everyone turned to look at him. "What?" Adrian blinked, confused. "No," Noah repeated, crossing to Adrian with predatory purpose. "You're engaged. You don't get other women's numbers." "It's just a dare," Adrian said, laughing uncomfortably. "It doesn't mean anything." "It means you don't respect Lila," Noah said coldly. "It means you see your marriage as something to escape rather than celebrate." The music pounded around them. The groomsmen had gone quiet, sensing confrontation. "Noah, relax," Adrian said, his tone placating. "You're being weird. It's a bachelor party. Everyone does this." "Everyone doesn't have Lila," Noah said, and his voice was low, dangerous. "You do, and you're here acting like she's an inconvenience instead of the best thing that will ever happen to you." Adrian's expression shifted, confusion giving way to something harder, more calculating. What's that supposed to mean? Noah realized too late that he'd revealed too much. That the emotion bleeding into his words was inappropriate, excessive, impossible to explain away as just friendship concern. "It means," Noah said carefully, forcing his voice into something calmer, "that you should remember who you're marrying, and act like it." Adrian stared at him for a long moment, then laughed, but it didn't sound amused. "You're right. I'm being an ass." He clapped Noah on the shoulder. "Thanks for keeping me honest, man. That's what best men are for, right?" The moment passed. The party continued. But Noah caught Adrian watching him several times throughout the night with an expression that held suspicion and something like understanding. Noah had been too obvious. Had let his control slip, and now Adrian was wondering about things he shouldn't be wondering about. The weekend ended with everyone nursing hangovers and inflated egos. Noah flew back to the city Sunday evening, exhausted and disgusted with himself. His phone showed 3 missed calls from Lila. His heart stuttered. He called back immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Noah?" Her voice sounded strained. "What's wrong?" Nothing's wrong exactly. She paused. "Can I see you? Are you back from Vegas?" "I'm heading to my hotel now," Noah said, already redirecting his driver. "Meet me there. Top floor suite. You still have the key?" "Yes." "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He made it in 15, breaking every traffic law, his heart racing with worry about what could have happened, what could have made her call him instead of Adrian. Lila was waiting outside the suite when he arrived, and Noah's breath caught at the sight of her. Wearing jeans and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back, face bare of makeup. She looked young and lost and heartbreakingly beautiful. "What happened?" Noah demanded, unlocking the suite and ushering her inside. "Nothing happened exactly," Lila said, but her hands were shaking. I had this realization, and I didn't know who else to talk to." Noah poured her water from the suite's bar, handed it to her, sat across from her in the living area, maintaining careful distance even though everything in him wanted to pull her close. "Talk to me," he said. Lila took a shaky breath. "I was working on the fresco this weekend, the restoration, and I had this moment where I was looking at the original artist's work, the passion and skill and dedication, and I thought about how this person created something beautiful 500 years ago. Something that outlasted them, that matters to people they'll never meet." She looked up at Noah with eyes that held too much emotion. "And I realized that's what I want. To create meaning, to do work that matters, to dedicate myself to something I'm passionate about." Her voice cracked. "But Adrian wants me to give it all up. After the wedding, he expects me to stop working, to focus on being his wife, on hosting dinners and charity events and eventually raising children. He's been very clear about that. What do you want? Noah asked quietly. I want both, Lila whispered. I want marriage and family, but I also want my work. I don't understand why I have to choose. Why loving someone means erasing myself. You don't have to choose, Noah said fiercely. Not with the right person. The right person would celebrate your passion, not ask you to abandon it. Lila was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. But Adrian isn't going to change his mind. I've tried talking to him about it. He just dismisses it, says I'm being dramatic, that once we're married, I'll understand priorities better. Noah felt rage build, hot, violent, barely controlled. Adrian's dismissiveness, his casual erasure of everything Lila valued, his assumption that marriage gave him the right to rewrite who she was, it made Noah want to tear the world apart. Then don't marry him, Noah heard himself say. Lila's eyes widened. What? Don't marry him, Noah repeated, and he was crossing a line he couldn't uncross, but he didn't care anymore. If he won't support your work, if he sees your passion as something to eliminate rather than celebrate, don't marry him. I can't just... Everyone's expecting. The wedding is in 6 weeks. Expectations don't matter, Noah interrupted. What matters is that you're about to bind yourself to someone who fundamentally doesn't understand you. Who will spend your marriage trying to make you smaller, so you fit his vision. Is that what you want? Is that the life you're choosing? No, Lila admitted, the word barely a whisper. But I don't know how to walk away. The invitations are sent. The deposits are paid. My mother has been planning for months. Adrian's family. None of that matters, Noah said, and he was moving closer without conscious decision, drawn to her like gravity. What matters is that you're miserable, that you're already dimming yourself and you're not even married yet. What happens after? When he has legal claim? When he can make decisions about your life without your input? Lila was shaking, tears flowing freely now. I feel trapped. Like I said yes, and now I'm on a track I can't get off. You can get off, Noah said. And he was kneeling in front of her now, taking her hands in his. First time he'd deliberately touched her since that initial handshake, and the contact was electric. You can walk away right now, today. Call it off before you make a mistake you'll regret for the rest of your life. Lila's hands tightened on his. And then what? Be alone? Start over? Yes, Noah said simply. Alone is better than trapped. Starting over is better than slowly dying in a marriage that kills everything that makes you extraordinary. They stared at each other, and Noah saw something shift in her expression. Awareness dawning. Understanding clicking into place. Why do you care so much? Lila asked softly. Why does my happiness matter to you? Internally, he thought, because I love you. Because watching you disappear is destroying me. Because I want to give you everything Adrian's taking away. Freedom and support and worship and a life where you can be completely yourself. Instead, he said, because you deserve better, his voice rough. Because I've watched you over these months. Watched Adrian dismiss and diminish you, and it's... He stopped, searching for words that wouldn't reveal everything. You deserve someone who sees how extraordinary you are. Do you? Lila whispered. See me? Every day, Noah admitted. Every moment. I see you so clearly it hurts. The air between them was charged, dangerous. Noah was still holding her hands, still kneeling before her, and the temptation to tell her everything, to confess his love, to beg her to choose him instead, was overwhelming. But she was still wearing Adrian's ring, was still technically engaged, and Noah had already crossed too many lines. He released her hands and stood, putting distance between them before he did something unforgivable. Think about what you want, Noah said. Really want. Not what everyone expects. Not what's easiest. What you actually want for your life. And if that doesn't include Adrian, walk away. I'll help you. I'll handle the logistics, the cancellations, all of it. You just have to be brave enough to admit the truth. Lila nodded slowly, wiping tears from her face. Okay, I'll think about it. She left shortly after, and Noah stood in the suite staring at where she'd been, his hands still tingling from where they'd touched hers. He'd crossed a line. Had encouraged her to leave Adrian. had revealed too much of his feelings even while trying to hide them, but he couldn't regret it. Because Lila deserved to know she had options, that staying wasn't mandatory, that she could walk away if she found the courage, even if she walked away into nothing instead of into Noah's arms. Even if calling off the wedding didn't lead to her choosing him, it would still be better than watching her marry Adrian. Better than seeing her slowly erased over years of marriage to someone who didn't value her. Noah could survive Lila choosing to be alone, could survive her eventually finding someone else who deserved her, but he couldn't survive watching her marry Adrian. Couldn't survive knowing he'd stayed silent when he should have spoken. Couldn't survive the regret of not giving her permission to walk away. So he'd crossed the line. Had interfered. Had become part of the problem instead of just an observer. And now all he could do was wait to see what Lila decided. Whether she'd find the courage to call off a wedding 6 weeks away, or whether she'd swallow her doubts and marry Adrian anyway, trapping herself in a life that would slowly kill everything beautiful about her. Noah didn't sleep that night. Just paced his penthouse, drinking too much, imagining futures that splintered in 1,000 directions. Lila calling off the wedding. Lila going through with it. Lila leaving Adrian but not choosing Noah. Lila discovering Noah's feelings and being disgusted. Lila marrying Adrian and disappearing from Noah's life entirely. By dawn, Noah had accepted that he'd done what he could, had given Lila the permission she needed to question, to doubt, to consider walking away. The rest was up to her, and whatever she decided, Noah would have to live with it, even if it destroyed him. Three weeks passed. Lila didn't call off the wedding. Noah watched from a distance as preparations continued. Bridal shower, final dress fittings, the rehearsal dinner being scheduled. Watched Lila continue through motions, her smile getting more strained, her light dimming further. She texted him occasionally. Brief messages, "Thank you for listening. I'm thinking about everything you said. I just need more time." But time was running out. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Noah threw himself into work, trying to drown his feelings in acquisitions and development projects. He was negotiating a deal in Tokyo, expanding his hotel empire into new markets, making moves that would increase his wealth by hundreds of millions. None of it mattered. None of it filled the hollow space in his chest where his heart used to be. He was sitting in a board meeting when his phone buzzed with a message from Adrian. "Emergency. Need you at the apartment. Now." Noah left without explanation, his heart hammering. He arrived at Adrian's penthouse 20 minutes later to find Adrian pacing, looking furious and panicked. What happened? Noah demanded. "Lila," Adrian said, and Noah's heart stopped. "She's having doubts. About the wedding. She tried to talk to me about postponing." Relief and hope surged through Noah's chest. "What did you say?" "I told her she was being ridiculous. We're 3 weeks out. The venue is paid for, guests have made arrangements. We can't postpone now." "But if she's having doubts," Noah started. "It's just cold feet," Adrian interrupted. "Every bride gets nervous. Or it means she's not ready," Noah said. "Or that she's realizing this isn't what she wants." Adrian looked at him sharply. "Why are you taking her side?" "I'm suggesting that if Lila is expressing doubts, you should listen instead of dismissing them." "She's being emotional," Adrian said dismissively. "You just have to be firm. Remind them why they said yes." Noah felt rage build. "She's not a child to be managed, Adrian. She's an adult woman telling you she's not sure. That deserves more than being called emotional." "What's your problem?" Adrian demanded. "You've been weird about this wedding from the beginning. Every planning meeting, you side with Lila. Every decision, you question whether it's what she wants. It's like you—" He stopped, his expression shifting into something cold and calculating. "You're in love with her," Adrian said. It wasn't a question. Noah's blood ran cold. He should deny it. Should laugh it off. Instead, he met Adrian's eyes and said nothing. "Holy shit," Adrian said, laughing harshly. "You're in love with my fiancée. That's why you've been so concerned. That's why you told her not to marry me." "She asked for advice," Noah said carefully. "I gave it honestly." You told the woman I'm about to marry that she should leave me, Adrian said, his voice rising. You sabotaged my relationship because you want her for yourself. I didn't sabotage anything, Noah said coldly. I told her the truth, that she deserves someone who respects her work and doesn't try to erase who she is. If that caused doubts, maybe you should examine why. Get out, Adrian said. Get the hell out of my apartment. You're fired as best man. I don't want you anywhere near my wedding. Stay away from Lila. Stay away from both of us. Noah left without another word. There was nothing left to say. He drove to his hotel, went up to his penthouse, and poured whiskey with shaking hands. Adrian knew. And Noah didn't know if that would push Lila toward calling off the wedding or push her to go through with it out of loyalty or stubbornness. His phone rang. Lila. Noah answered immediately. Are you okay? Adrian told me what happened, Lila said, her voice strained. He said you're in love with me. Is that true? Noah closed his eyes. Yes, it's true. Silence. Noah's heart hammered. Since when? Lila asked finally. Since the engagement party, Noah admitted. The moment you walked in. I've been in love with you since the moment I met you. Why didn't you say anything? Because you were engaged. Because you'd chosen Adrian. Because I had no right to interfere no matter how I felt. But you did interfere, Lila said. You encouraged me to leave him. Because he doesn't deserve you, Noah said fiercely. Because watching him diminish you has been torture. Because you deserve someone who celebrates your work instead of trying to erase it. More silence. I need time, Lila said finally. I need to think about everything. About Adrian, about the wedding, about... She stopped. I need time alone. Take all the time you need, Noah said, though the words felt like giving up. I'll be here. Whatever you decide. Noah, Lila said, and something in her voice made his chest ache. She didn't finish, just ended the call. Noah stood in his penthouse staring at his phone and felt like he'd just lost everything. Adrian knew he was in love with Lila. Lila knew. And instead of giving him hope, the confession had driven her away. She needed time, which meant she was considering going through with the wedding despite everything, despite Adrian's dismissiveness, despite their incompatibility, despite Noah's love, because walking away was hard, because disappointing people was hard, because change was terrifying even when staying was worse. He'd laid his heart bare, had confessed everything, had risked their friendship, his relationship with Adrian, his carefully controlled life, and Lila was still wearing Adrian's ring, still, planning to walk down that aisle, still choosing the wrong man. Noah poured himself another drink and stared out at the city he'd conquered, the empire he'd built, the life he'd crafted exactly to his specifications, and realized that none of it mattered, because the only thing he wanted was walking away from him, the only thing he'd ever truly wanted, the only thing he would never have. Two weeks before the wedding, Lila called. Noah answered on the first ring, his heart in his throat. Lila, can we meet? She asked. I need to talk to you. They met at a small cafe far from both their usual haunts, neutral territory where they wouldn't be recognized. Lila arrived looking exhausted, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, her hands trembling as she ordered coffee. They sat across from each other in a corner booth, and Noah waited, letting her gather her thoughts, trying to prepare himself for whatever she was about to say. I've been thinking, Lila said finally, removing her sunglasses to reveal red-rimmed eyes. About everything. About what you said. About what I want. Noah's hands clenched into fists under the table. And I realized you're right, Lila continued. Adrian doesn't see me, doesn't understand me, doesn't support the things that matter most to me. Marrying him would mean slowly erasing myself to fit his vision of what a wife should be. Hope surged in Noah's chest. But, Lila said, and the word felt like a blade, I can't call off the wedding. The hope died. What? Noah asked. I can't, Lila repeated, and tears were streaming down her face. My mother has been planning for a year. The deposits are paid. Guests have bought plane tickets. Adrian's family has invested in this wedding, financially and emotionally. My calling it off now would devastate so many people. So you're going to devastate yourself instead? Noah demanded. I'm going to honor my commitment, Lila said. I said yes. I agreed to marry him. I can't back out now just because I'm having doubts. These aren't just doubts, Noah said, his voice rising. You know marrying him is wrong. You've admitted it. Why would you go through with it anyway? Because that's what adults do, Lila said, her voice breaking. They honor their commitments. They don't run away just because things are hard. This isn't about things being hard, Noah said. This is about you marrying someone who fundamentally doesn't respect you, who will spend your marriage trying to control and diminish you. That's not honoring a commitment. That's throwing your life away. They stared at each other across the table, and Noah felt like he was watching her slip away. I came here to tell you I've made my decision, Lila said. The wedding is going forward. And I think, her voice cracked, I think it's better if we don't see each other anymore. Before or after? It's too— Don't, Noah interrupted. Don't ask me to walk away from you entirely. It's better this way, Lila said. Cleaner, I'm marrying Adrian. You being in our lives would just make everything more complicated. Everything is already complicated, Noah said. I'm in love with you. You know that. Pretending I'm not won't change it. But it might make it easier, Lila whispered. For both of us. She stood to leave, and Noah felt panic surge through his chest. Lila, wait, she paused. If you go through with this wedding, Noah said, if you marry Adrian knowing everything you know, I can't watch. I won't be there. I can't stand beside him and hand over the rings and pretend to be happy while you destroy your life. I understand, Lila said softly. Do you? Noah demanded. Do you understand that you're choosing misery? That you're letting fear of disappointing others matter more than your own happiness? That 10 years from now, you're going to wake up and realize you gave up everything that mattered for a marriage that makes you hollow? Maybe, Lila said. But it's my choice to make. Then make a different one, Noah pleaded. Choose yourself. Choose your work. Choose happiness. Even if that doesn't include me. Even if you walk away from both of us. At least choose freedom. Lila was crying openly now. I can't, I'm sorry. I can't. She left, and Noah sat alone in the cafe feeling like his chest had been carved open. She was going through with it. Was going to marry Adrian in 2 weeks despite knowing it was wrong, despite her doubts, despite Noah's love, because she couldn't find the courage to disappoint people. Couldn't walk away from expectations. Couldn't choose herself over everyone else's opinions. Noah paid for their coffees and left. Drove to his hotel, went up to his penthouse and stood at the windows overlooking the city. He'd failed. Had confessed his love. Had given her every reason to walk away. Had offered her support and freedom and a different future. And she'd chosen Adrian anyway. Not because she loved Adrian, but because leaving was harder than staying. Noah pulled out his phone and sent Adrian a brief text. I won't be at the wedding. Find another best man. Then he blocked both their numbers. If Lila was going to marry Adrian, Noah couldn't watch. Couldn't stand there and witness her making the biggest mistake of her life. Couldn't smile and support and pretend everything was fine. He'd loved her. Had told her the truth. Had offered her a way out, and she'd refused. There was nothing left for him to do except let her go. Let her walk into a marriage that would slowly kill everything beautiful about her. Let her make her choice and live with the consequences. Even if it destroyed him. Even if he spent the rest of his life wondering what if, even if Lila Monroe was the only woman he'd ever love and she was binding herself to someone else. Noah had to let her go. Had to accept that love wasn't enough. That wanting someone wasn't the same as having them. That sometimes people chose wrong and there was nothing you could do to save them from themselves. The wedding was in 2 weeks, and Noah Cross would spend that day anywhere but watching the woman he loved marry the wrong man. Noah flew to Tokyo the night before the wedding. He couldn't be in the same city. Couldn't risk the temptation to show up, to try one last time to stop her, to do something dramatic and futile that would only make everything worse. So he ran. Buried himself in work, scheduled meetings that didn't need to happen, tried to pretend that halfway across the world, the woman he loved wasn't walking down an aisle toward a future that would slowly destroy her. He was in a conference room when his phone rang with a US number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer. Then something made him accept the call. "Hello? Noah?" A woman's voice, breathless and panicked. "Noah, it's Sarah, Lila's sister. I got your number from Adrian's phone. You need to come home, now." Noah's heart stopped. "What happened? Is Lila—" "She didn't show up," Sarah said, crying. "The wedding was supposed to start an hour ago. Everyone's at the venue. Adrian's furious. My mother's hysterical. And Lila, no one knows where she went. She left a note saying she couldn't do it, that she was sorry, but she just disappeared. She's not answering her phone, and I thought maybe she'd contact you." Noah was already moving, already grabbing his jacket. "I'm in Tokyo. I'll get the first flight home. If she contacts you, tell her I'm coming." He made it onto a flight within 2 hours, pulled every string he had to secure a seat. Lila had walked away, had finally found the courage to call off the wedding, had done what Noah had begged her to do, chosen herself over expectations, and she was alone somewhere, probably terrified, definitely overwhelmed, needing support. He landed at 6 a.m. and went straight from the airport to the one place he thought she might be, the museum. The building wasn't open yet, but Noah had enough connections to get a security guard to let him in. He found her in the restoration lab, sitting on the floor in front of the 15th century fresco she'd been working on for months. Still wearing jeans and a hoodie, not a wedding dress. Her hair was down, messy. She looked small and lost and beautiful. "Lila," Noah said softly. She looked up, and her eyes were red from crying but held relief. "Noah, you're here. How did you— I thought you were in Tokyo." "Your sister called. She said you didn't show up to the wedding, that no one knew where you were." "I couldn't do it," Lila said, her voice shaking. "I got to the venue, put on the dress, started getting ready, and I looked at myself in the mirror and saw someone I didn't recognize, someone about to make a terrible mistake because she was too scared to disappoint people." She stood, wrapping her arms around herself. "So I took off the dress, put on regular clothes, walked out, left a note saying I was sorry but I couldn't marry him, and I came here." "To the fresco," Noah said. "To the work that actually matters to me," Lila said. "To the thing I would have had to give up if I'd married Adrian. I came here and just sat with it, reminded myself why I couldn't go through with the wedding." Noah wanted to cross to her, to pull her into his arms, but he stayed where he was, giving her space. "My mother called 17 times, Lila continued. Adrian called. Everyone wanting to know what I was thinking. Didn't I realize what I'd done?" "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I turned off my phone. I couldn't deal with their disappointment. I just needed to be here, with something real." "You did the right thing," Noah said quietly. Lila's eyes met his. "Did I? Because it feels terrifying. I just blew up my entire life. Humiliated Adrian. Disappointed everyone. And for what?" "For yourself," Noah said firmly. "You did it for yourself. Because marrying Adrian would have been wrong." Tears spilled down Lila's cheeks. "I kept thinking about what you said. About choosing freedom. About not letting fear matter more than my own happiness. And I realized I was about to trade who I am for who others want me to be." "I'm proud of you," Noah said. "What you did took incredible courage." Lila was crying harder now, and Noah couldn't stay away anymore. He crossed to her and pulled her into his arms, and she collapsed against him, sobbing into his chest while he held her. She'd walked away. Had chosen herself. Had found the courage to call off the wedding, but Noah didn't know what came next. Didn't know if her walking away meant anything about them. All he knew was that she was here, in his arms, and for right now, that was enough. They stood there while dawn light filtered through high windows, and slowly Lila's crying subsided. "What do I do now?" she asked into his shirt. "Everyone hates me. I have no place to live. I gave up my apartment. I have no plan. I just ran." "You come with me," Noah said. "Back to the hotel. You stay as long as you need. You figure out what comes next on your own timeline. Why? Lila interrupted, pulling back to look at him. Why do you keep helping me? Because I love you. Because you're the only thing that's ever mattered. Because you deserve help, Noah said instead. Because you shouldn't be alone right now. Lila searched his face. Noah, don't, he interrupted. Don't feel like you owe me anything. You just called off your wedding. You need time to breathe, to process, to figure out who you are outside of being Adrian's fiancée. And what about you? Lila asked. Where do you fit? Wherever you want me to, Noah said honestly. Friend, support, or nothing. Just wherever you want me. That's where I'll be. They stood there in the early morning light, and Noah felt the future hanging in balance. Lila had walked away from Adrian. But that didn't mean she was choosing Noah. She needed time, space, freedom, and Noah would give her that. Would be whatever she needed him to be, even if it meant staying in the friend zone forever. Let's get you somewhere safe, Noah said. Somewhere you can rest. Okay? Lila nodded slowly. Okay. He led her out of the museum and back to his hotel, and tried not to think about the fact that the woman he loved had finally walked away from the wrong man. But he still didn't know if she would walk toward the right one. Lila stayed at the Cross Hotel for 2 weeks. Noah gave her the corner suite and didn't push. Just checked on her daily, made sure she ate, listened when she needed to talk, gave space when she needed solitude, watched her slowly come back to life. The first week was hard. Lila dealt with fallout, angry calls, furious messages, disappointed friends. She returned Adrian's ring, apologized, started untangling their shared life. The second week, something shifted. Lila started smiling again, talking about her work with enthusiasm, planning her future. I've been offered a position, she told Noah over dinner. Lead restorer in Florence. 6-month contract, starting in 3 weeks. Noah felt his heart sink. That's incredible. You should take it, should I? Lila asked, and something in her tone made him look up sharply. She was watching him with an intensity that made his breath catch. What do you mean? Lila set down her wine glass, hands trembling. I've spent 2 weeks here where you've been nothing but supportive. 2 weeks where you've asked for nothing except my well-being? That's what friends do, Noah said. Friends? Lila repeated. Is that what we are? Noah's heart hammered. What do you want us to be? I want to be honest, Lila said. I didn't call off the wedding because of panic. I called it off because standing in that dressing room, all I could think about was you. Noah stopped breathing. I kept thinking about how you see me, Lila continued, tears building. Really see me, how you listen, how you've supported me without trying to change me. I realized I couldn't marry Adrian because I was in love with someone else. With you. Lila, I'm scared, she interrupted. What if I'm wrong? What if this is just rebound? Is it? Noah asked. No, Lila said firmly. I know the difference. This is real. Noah stood, unable to sit still. Then why tell me about Italy? Because I need to know if this is one-sided. If you still feel what you felt before. Lila, the last 2 weeks have been torture. Noah moved toward her. Beautiful torture. I've been in love with you since the engagement party. I didn't want to pressure you. Didn't want to take advantage. So you've been keeping your distance. Because you needed space. Because I love you too much to be selfish. Lila's eyes swam with tears. Then tell me not to go. I can't, Noah said. That job is incredible. I won't ask you to give up your dreams. But what if I want you to come with me? Lila stepped closer. What if I want to do this work with you beside me? Noah's hands came up to cup her face. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you, Lila said steadily despite the tears. I'm saying I want to try this. Us. I want you to come to Italy with me. You're sure? Because once I say yes, I'm all in. I'll support your work. I'll be the partner you deserve. I know. That's why I'm asking. Then yes, Noah said, voice rough with emotion. Yes to Italy. Yes to building something real together. Yes to all of it. Just like that, I can run my empire from anywhere. And I'd reorganize my entire existence if it meant being with you. You're the only thing I've ever wanted that actually matters. Lila's smile broke through her tears. I love you. I love you too, Noah said. They stood wrapped in each other's arms, and Noah felt something twisted in his chest finally ease. So we're doing this, Lila said. Italy? 6 months. We're doing this, Noah confirmed. When you find the right person, everything else becomes details. And you're the right person. Always. They talked until the restaurant closed about Italy and plans and futures. Finally, Noah walked Lila back to her suite. They stood outside her door, neither wanting to separate. Thank you, Lila said softly. For everything. For waiting. For being patient. Always, Noah said, and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Get some rest. We have a lot of planning to do. Lila smiled, squeezed his hand once, and disappeared inside. Noah stood in the hallway for a moment, feeling hope and joy and the certainty that everything was finally right. 3 weeks later, they boarded a plane to Florence. They spent 6 months in Italy. Lila worked on restoration projects that fulfilled her. Noah managed his empire remotely. They explored Italy on weekends, learned to cook together, built a life that balanced both their needs. On their last week, Noah took Lila to the Ponte Vecchio at sunset. He pulled out a small box and opened it to reveal a ring. Simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the light. Lila Monroe, Noah said, voice steady despite the emotion. Will you marry me? For real this time. The right man. The right reasons. Yes, Lila said, crying and smiling. Yes, absolutely yes. Noah slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her close. I love you. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret saying yes. I could never regret this, Lila said. This is right. We're right. They returned to the States and planned their wedding, something small at Noah's mountain lodge. Family and close friends. Celebration instead of performance. The ceremony was perfect. Simple vows, genuine emotion, 2 people who'd earned their happiness. And Noah thought about loving her from a distance, about her courage in walking away, about building something real, about how sometimes the right love required patience, required letting someone find themselves before they could find you. What are you thinking? Lila asked as they danced, her head on his shoulder. That you were worth waiting for, Noah said. Every second. You were worth all of it. I love you, Lila said. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for loving me enough to let me find my own way. Always, Noah promised. I'll always choose you, love you, for the rest of our lives. And as they danced under the stars, celebrating a marriage built on honesty and respect and real love, Noah Cross felt peace, completion, joy. Because the woman in his arms, the woman who'd walked away from the wrong altar and toward him, was finally, completely his, not because he'd demanded it, but because she'd chosen it, and that made all the difference.